Hi, everybody, and welcome to Raheen Space. This is me, Raheen Fatma, and today we're here with a very interesting session with Samantha Hope, a very good friend. We met somewhere in co-reality, and then we became friends, talked about some topics, and let me tell you, it was fantastic. And today we're going to be talking about beauty standards and also how that would affect the rate of cosmetic surgeries around the world. So can you please introduce yourself, Samantha, so we kickstart this session?
Excellent. Thank you, Raheen. I am Samantha Hope. I'm located in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and I'm very passionate about equality around the world. I am a female identified woman, and I have an undergrad in sociology where I was very interested in looking at body politics, so in relation to the food we consume, the things that we put on our body, the consumable goods that we consume, beauty standards when it comes to addiction, which we'll get into in another session, community living, and essentially equality, and coming from a place of like more of an inner space versus an external space. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
It is amazing having you here, Samantha. So, I mean, like, it's a very big thing. Where should we start? Like, I think we should actually start, like, from telling what are the beauty standards in our own respective countries. You start.
The beauty standards in Canada, I mean, it varies depending on regions. I'm in the West Coast, so people are a little bit more fluid. There's a lot of different types of people. There's people that are more like earth-based, that are more natural, and then there are people in certain places, more in the cities, that their beauty standards are more, I would say, altered in relation to Hollywood. So a big thing that I noticed in the last 5 years is the use of false eyelashes, and getting things like breast augmentation and lip augmentation and things like that. Um, so it really depends, but I think that the biggest thing that has stood out is the changing in the eyes. And even like, we have a multicultural country, so there are a lot of people that come from Asia, that come from China, for instance, in Vancouver. And I noticed a lot of different color eye, like contact lenses and things like that. Um, and out east, which is the highly metropolitan place in Canada, like Toronto, in Ontario, there is more of this kind of capitalistic look at the female body, where you'll find that like women like dye their hair a lot and get cosmetic surgery and things like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you just froze for a second. Yeah, you're back.
Okay.
So the beauty standard for my country are like when you talk about like all the regions kind of mixed up with that beautiful girl that every mother wants um, for their sons, or every boy wants to be like, you know, his wife to be like that or whatever. Okay, so that is basically a fairly tall, thin, very like as fair as that person can be, long luscious black hair, and like, you know, a very thin nose, like, you know, all that perfect kind of a person, and not too big lips. Okay, so our kind of you know, beauty standards are really different from maybe Hollywood's, because you know they're like big lips and that hourglass figure. Hourglass figure is not considered good here in Pakistan. It is not considered a good thing in Pakistan. So that is our thing. And now somebody who is not falling into that kind of imaginary good person, that person is not a good person. And I think that is because, it's a kind of a cycle that you're also stuck in. That you say that, okay, I am dark, I do not have very long luscious black hair, I'm not that beautiful according to this society. Then you're like, according to uh what I see, you go to maybe police the society, because then it's also your parents and your siblings and your cousins and everybody, and you're the ugly duckling in between them. So you're like, let's go for cosmetic surgery. And
Mhm.
that is where the using fairness creams, or also having other procedures that are used for skin whitening, and using certain stuff for your hair, and eating so less. A lot of models like kind of starve to death or something, just to have that figure that they have in order to be a model. And
Mhm.
a lot of different things, they go through a lot of different stages just to be that society perfect girl. And after they've gotten so much, of course the society knows that they've gone through cosmetic surgery. And then the society would end it off by saying, you shouldn't have gotten that, you should have embraced yourself. It was you in the first place who said that, you should get that, probably it'll be better for you. So I think it's really different, because at the end of the day, that girl stays the different person forever. And
Mhm.
nobody's happy. So I think we shouldn't even go for making people happy anyway. So what do you have to say?
Yeah, that's really interesting that you talked about, you're touching on the agency aspect of, but the irony that the media influences the standard of beauty, but then afterwards says, well, it's all on you. It's all on your like own agency, which isn't true, because the whole subjectivity of what a beauty standard is dictated by the culture and society. Um, there's this French philosopher called Michel Foucault. He was very into body politics and looking at history and the change in culture. And he talked about, I'm just going to quickly look at my notes here. Um,
Hmm.
what was the exact word that he used? He talked about biopower. So, like during the Industrial Revolution, there was all this new technology in order to organize society and essentially influence how families and how like gender and children, so women and children specifically, were very, very subjected to this kind of hyper consuming institutions. So, like prisons and schools and hospitals all had this kind of similar replica that was like the factory. So you started to like mold what it was to be a woman, what it was to be a child, and actually like create these categories that were very different in order to sell things. And so that's when you talked about this kind of like, oh, well, it was your decision anyways. That's totally, it's not true, because ever since we're born, we're told by our parents and also by society of what it means to be a good woman. And that is highly, at least where I'm from, it's highly capitalized on. It's like, it's in relation to women are highly sexualized in a way, and highly like their worth for a long time was about how they looked in the external, and then that is a byproduct of the industrial revolution and the patriarchy, because
Yeah.
they could sell more things by your insecurity. It's like, oh yeah, well, you're insecure, so it's your fault. But it's like this kind of like um self manifesting system. where it's just like, yeah, I feel like it's my fault because I feel this way, but really how I was made to feel this way was influenced and inspired by the whole capitalistic engine.
Yeah. And and I wanted to say something here. It's also that, there's some things that people would want us to see. Because, okay, so I was listening to this TED talk by this really amazing lady, and she told that she was, she was managing a runway show, and she saw a fairly young girl sitting and getting her hair done. And she was like, this girl's like really, really small. And she went up to her and she asked her, what you're doing? She's like, I'm doing my algebra homework. The girl was literally 12 years old. That girl was there for a runway show. After she got her hair done and the makeup on and the dress on, she looked like she was 30. So, that is how what they're selling to us. And that young look, there are 99% of all pictures ever that are taken for magazines or for fashion looks, they're always touched up, photoshopped. A lot of apps that are really popular are popular because they are Photoshop apps. I could actually use an app which makes me look really, a beautiful woman in my society. Now, from a young age, I was told I had this big nose. And a lot of people said, even my cousins, they would usually make fun of me and say, you should actually get that surgery. They would research on surgeries and then tell me what kind of surgeries I should actually get. And they invested a lot of time and effort in doing that. And I was like, you're doing that for me? That is sweet, but not sweet at the same time. And they were like, you should get that, and then your nose would be thinner, and then you would be more beautiful. I'm like, do you think I would be more beautiful? Because it's going to look fake. People know that I have a big nose. I can't just say, oh my God, I'm just working on my contouring and, it just looks good now. Right? And I also feel like we do not sometimes look into what that can cause. Like, what are the long time effects of cosmetic surgeries that we would really consider? A lot of people would consider that. In Pakistan, the main thing that people would do with cosmetic surgery is usually skin whitening and Botox. Those are the two most popular things that are done. But of course, we do go into more procedures. Now, what are your thoughts on my nose being bigger and me saying no to that?
I think you are absolutely beautiful inside and out. Like, yeah. What do I think about that? I'm just thinking about the classism in that too, like the amount of money that it takes to get a surgery, a reconstructive surgery, and that predominantly surgeons are men, and there's this kind of like altering and objectifying the female body. What it made me think of too is like reconstructive surgery for like the genitals is big because of the porno industry and like how women are like reproductively altering their like that sacred space for what, for these viewers to consume and to dictate what it means to be beautiful, and that that's money, and that what about these people, let's say, even if, okay, like you have agency to change your body and you want to, it makes you feel better, but what about those people that don't have the means for that? And it reminds me of, of how in society, and like and I speak from my culture because I don't know overall, but I feel like globalization influences this Western kind of ideology. But it was, even in like the 1800s, it was very popular to whiten your skin because it meant that you weren't working out in the fields. So they
Yeah.
kind of very much classist and also separated from nature was thought of the ideal. And I feel like that's what you're talking about in this relation to this technocratic kind of value system of like, we have this technology and this technology can alter me to make me more accepted and to make me more valuable in a capitalist system, which is to completely, it's separating your essence from the nature, from spirit, from Mother Earth. And that is, I think, one of the big issues when we get into even our next talk on addiction. It's like, well, my value is dictated by what is external and what is manipulated by the patriarchy.
Yeah. And here I want to say something that's like really important. Like you did say that, and I loved how you mentioned it, that it's really like your social class. Now, if I am fairer than other people around me, I'd be like, okay, like she would sit in the air conditioner all day and she's probably the richer class. Or even if I am born dark, people would say, yeah, she's rich enough to get a surgery for that. Right now, that's how it is put. But if I was born into a family that would work in fields, of course, I'd be dark because of working in the sun, the sunburn. And of course, that is also the middleman production that really like varies, of course, in different kind of people. Then people will be like, no, she's not a good person. And if you see in movies, and trust me with this one, any movie you take out in Pakistan, most of the villains would be darker than the hero and would be darker because they're just considered bad. I don't know why, but like bad people. And any model or actress that you would see, I'll send you some pictures. And you literally would see like they're almost all the same because there's almost all the same requirements that you need. You have to be thin, you have to be beautiful, and you also have to have not that cuteness, but more of that hot side to yourself. Now, that is what thing is. And now, considerably, we all are influenced by the influencers. Now, I think that here influencers are really different. Now here, Mahira Khan or Maya Ali, these are the influencers. And there on the other side of the border in India, it's really similar because we do share some influencers of the cultural similarities. Now there are Deepika and we have Sonam and we have like different ones, right? But in Hollywood, they're the rulers, right? Not more of actors, but also reality TV stars like Kylie Jenner and Kim Kardashian and Khloe and all those. They're like, I think about 6 to 7 sisters, and all of them are like ruling Instagram. Anything Kylie gets done, it kind of like hits that viral thing. It's like viral, and everybody is getting that done. People want to be like them. But people don't see how they are also suffering from all these things. And we need to understand that, okay, so she's promoting a doctor that did the so-called famous Kylie Jenner lips. She got her lips injected because she was insecure about it. And a boy told him that you're not a good kisser because your lips are not good. And then she was like, I need to get them injected. She was 16 when she got it injected. She was below, that is underage surgery, but you need your parents' consent that she got. So she got it injected. And for a long time, she lied about it because she did not want people to get influenced by it and younger people of the younger audience to be influenced by what she did. Then she got into that hourglass figure, and then Kim and all her sisters look almost the same because they've gotten almost the same procedures. And at this age, they're getting, cheek fillers and Botox and a lot of things that you're supposed to get at least when you're over 30. So you look old, and then you get that to be like to look younger. But the capital of it all is South Korea. That's where this really youthful look started, because of the K-pop bands and Blackpink and BTS. So we all have it all over the world. Like we have die-hard fans all over the world, and they're all like, you look so cute and you look so young, and their actual ages are like, oh my god, you're that old. They're really old, but they look so young. They got procedures. They have a lot of money. They can get a lot of good doctors. But if you go for cheaper options, of course, there's been a lot of cases. You go to YouTube and you'd see a lot of cases, cosmetic surgery gone wrong. The doctor was not licensed. That doctor was not even a real doctor and was doing your surgery. Now people get a lot of different things. A lot of different women were in that area, specific areas, were kind of victimized there, because those people were not seeing, they were not board certified, they had a clinic, they were running that, people died. Some people just got their bodies ruined, but some died. And you see, that's how dangerous it can be. Now, Botox near the eyes, it could make you blind because it's actually injected in your vein. So it could block any vein and you're gone. So this is all that we need to research before we doing this. So what do you have to say about that?
It reminds me of like looking at the article I wrote and talking about Foucault said that in the body politics in relation to women predominantly, it's not just women, but still predominantly it is that it is the signifier of violence and power. And so you're saying that like these people, these physicians don't even have credentials, but the desire for a woman to uphold a certain type of beauty standard so that they're accepted, so that they get married or they're in Hollywood or whatever, is essentially socially necessary for them to like put this violence on their body, to be honest, like violence, like cutting and injecting with like these products that could be poisonous for the body. I mean, I know that they've changed it. Like at least I know in Canada, for instance, they use saline for breast implants, which is a little bit safer, but still you're putting this foreign object in your body. And what else was I thinking of when you were saying that South Korea? Yeah, this very much hegemonic nation, of culture of globalization with this efficiency of technologies now, and we have Instagram, and we have like instant influence and change. It's like this hyperbolic kind of consumer culture that is pushed upon individuals now. So they need to be consuming and altering and changing and buying, different clothing or these different products to change their external at a more frequent timing now, because it's so instantaneously influenced around the world. And now it's like these beauty standards coming from, let's say, Hollywood is now all over the world, because it's like the amount of people that are migrating to cities in the last 40, 50 years, the amount of I feel like it's great for everybody to have technology. That's amazing. But the dark side of it is this heavily normalized, westernized standard of beauty.
Yeah.
That doesn't,
And
yeah.
here I wanted to say something. I did tell you uh, earlier about the doctor that Kylie Jenner was promoting who did her lip surgery and is kind of their family cosmetic surgery doctor, also does her sister's. Okay. Now, his name is Dr. Simon Orion. Now, the thing with him was like nobody researched that, but I went into depth of that because I wanted to figure this thing out. He is so famous. Now, all models, usually actresses, come to him because of his iconic like breakthrough in his industry with Kylie Jenner's lips, of course. He, before injecting Kylie Jenner's lips, I think a year or two before that, he was accused of sexual harassment by a few women. Now, he went to court and stuff. There were some hearings. And what the board basically decided was that his license was not supposed to be like kind of snatched away, but he was supposed to practice under the supervision of a board, another board certified doctor. So he does not do anything wrong. Now, what that happened, it was his kind of time out as well. He was supervised by people. Of course, he was pretty depressed. That is where Kylie Jenner comes in. She did not know about his past, that he was like this, and that is what happened. And well, basically, right now is even happening is that he's doing people's lips, but people do not quite research about what he's been accused of, or what did the court said, or what did the board say. Is he properly licensed? He's a very famous, he's a Instagram famous doctor. He posts like everything that he does. On Instagram, he's about like 5 million followers, something that maybe an Instagram person could dream of. And he's enjoying his life, even being supervised by another doctor, which isn't a really cool thing, actually. So I feel like we should do research on it. Now, in South Korea, Seoul, the capital, there are parents who are gifting cosmetic surgeries to their daughters as graduation gifts. Imagine that. The parents find a doctor that they want their daughter to go to, and they would gift a surgery, usually double eyelid surgery, or you could go in with other procedures. And the skin whitening place. So India and Pakistan, of course, have Fair and Lovely, other brands, and important celebrities. Like, in India, we have Alia Bhatt. Here we have Mavra. So we have a lot of different celebrities that we idealize. And they're promoting these beauty products that are not safe for us at all. They are not at all safe for us to use. But of course, it is the brand's job to take care of our security, not the promoters, because they get money for promoting, but they have to take care of what they're promoting. I never, even when I was thinking of building up my own brand, I was like, no, skin whitening is something that's not going to be in my brand, because if I start telling people that you need to use these things, then what's the difference? It's the same thing that I first used to say that it was wrong, and now I say, yeah, it's right because it's part of my brand. The Philippines is really dangerous in skin whitening. Influencers there think of it as a compliment when American people in usually specifically when they say that, oh my God, you're so white, that is supposed to be a good thing. And their creams, now you did say, the people who do not have access to cosmetic surgery, what do? They go out to unsafe markets and buy unsafe products. Now, Philippines limit of hydroquinone. Hydroquinone, kojic acid, and vitamin C are the three most popular things that are used for whitening. And hydroquinone being one of the most dangerous ones all the world, and also mercury. And the products there are so rich in those skin whitening agents that Philippines limit of that being 0.04% of hydroquinone in one like kind of package of a cream. I forgot what exactly the amount of it was, but that one, kind of box of it. And that was about 42,000 times more than the limit of what they were supposed to add. That is insane. 4 times more, maybe it's fine. 42 times more, it's dangerous. 4,000. But 42,000, the guy's nuts. The one who was selling this, the one who was buying this. And now, so this all usually would happen because, you get stopped by the customs, and of course, you get checked there. This is where the things go wrong. When these things are shipped into the Philippines, the people at the customs, they kind of slip it in. Not because they're getting money for that, but for the reason that they think that they're helping women in Philippines appear fairer and get chances to marry more handsome men and get more men and also be more beautiful. They think that they're helping. Now they don't know how dangerous it is for the Philippines, and they're letting this product slip through. Now it's really cheap, like it's super cheap, and this is what's been applied. Now here, I know a very good dermatologist. She's a family friend, and we keep talking about a lot of stuff. And she basically, we went to another person's house, like it was a party. It was kind of like a visit, and there a woman came and she sat with that woman, and she was like, "See my skin, you're a dermatologist, you know better." And her skin was full with acne, and the skin was like horrible condition. And then the dermatologist guessed what she put on her face. I'm not going to take the name because I do not want to defame anybody, but that product I never touched in my entire life, ever. Because that left that kind of a skin. She said, "You put that twice a day, didn't you? Just to get that fairer skin." And a lot of people use that, come to her clinic, and then say, what just happened? And she knows what happened because she's so experienced in seeing all these things. Now people risk their lives, and influencers, they even share what things that they use for skin whitening. I use these, these skin whitening medicine like tablets, and then I drink this syrup, and I also use these soaps. This is supposed to be helping other people. That is what they think they are doing. But actually, it is not. Fair and Lovely is the most known brand in Pakistan and also in India. Fair and Lovely. The usual ad would be that a girl who's like really dark, nobody likes her, even around her house. She's struggling with men. She's struggling to study. And as soon as she does this on her skin, she's like the most beautiful person in the world. Like, she's good at studies. She has a lot of men that are kind of like staring at her, and she's like this. Everybody loves her. Everybody's jealous of her. And then she would say, "Use Fair and Lovely." Then mothers would tell their daughters to use that, and so on and so forth. That's how things are just kind of passed on, which should be not. So, how is it for you growing up? Because, in America and also in Canada, both tanning is more popular than whitening. So, it's kind of like the exact opposite of doing that, of whitening. So, what do you feel about all these things after hearing all this research of mine?
I feel like it's really tragic, and like I feel so much that's like having boils on your skin is like this ignoring of your natural warning signs. And yeah, like when another through my research that was brought up was this kind of like, again, this technocratic look at the body and this kind of ignoring of natural cycles, and even like for women calling them crazy and things like that for ignoring like a emotional response to maybe something that is out of whack.
Yeah.
Let's say. And but when you were saying that, like, say in South Korea, I also, in my research, I came up with this, it was called Western Eyes, that for the mother, for their birthday or for their progress, in like a lot of places in Asia, it's like competing also in relation to the economy. It's like, how can I um, inspire my young daughter or both my children to be economically competitive in this worldwide market? And so what is that? Okay, following these like global standards of beauty. So I'm going to, even though it's going to hurt and put violence upon my child, I'm going to instill this idea that violence and competition is how you get ahead. And that to me is, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Um, and my personal journey is that I come from a family that have had issues in relation to body modification and body image. So much so that like they would, that, you know, some people, I'm not going to name, in my family would hurt their body or make themselves like puke or resist eating the nutrients because that body image was more important than their sense of comfortability and their sense of health. And so this is
Yeah.
going to mental health. So like our standardization of beauty is affecting mental health because I'm not good enough. And the woman is the signifier of the imprint of I'm not good enough. And I am nothing. I am space. I am emptiness until I consume these products. I dye my hair. I get my breasts done. I get my lips done. I get those false eyelashes. And then I am somebody. And if that isn't an indication of like the patriarch that has to change, I think, then I don't know what is. And yeah, for me, my journey, I was raised by my father. So I was quite lucky. I mean, I remember when I was younger, like I wasn't so obsessed with like the whole body image because my greatest influencer was my father. And so he wasn't as influenced with that, what are the standards for women's beauty? But I remember my breasts was a thing. Like I would literally in my diary, I would cup them and I would take like a measurement and I would have measurements to see if they were growing. And then I remember seeing this article about how um, young girls were developing breasts earlier because the hormonal injections of chickens. I think it was in the States. I don't think actually it was really in Canada, but I read that and I got that information like, oh my God, these girls are eating this chicken with this artificial injection of hormones to make those chickens' breasts bigger. And it was making their breasts bigger. I wanted to eat chicken. When we had chicken, I was like, give me more chicken. And so even though I knew that that was like artificial, and maybe in the article it wasn't a positive thing, it didn't matter because for me, it was like having big breasts. What I watched in the movies would make me more powerful, more likable, more loved. If I had bigger breasts, I would be loved.
I don't know how that thing will because here it's not really so beautiful. So And here I wanted to share something that is so close to my heart. I had, and I say that I had this beautiful yet very saddening experience of once talking to a woman who was just going, uh, who was almost just, kind of waiting for her lips to be numbed and was going for lip fillers. Like literal, in 5 minutes, she'd be going into the room and getting it done. And I was like, hi, nice to meet you. Kind of, we started off with like those awkward small talks. I was sitting in the clinic of this laserologist and esthetician. She did a lot of things. Basically, she was also very good at cosmetic surgery. And my mom basically was getting this PRP done, which is usually just injecting plasma from your own blood. I think plasma or platelets, I don't know, from your own blood into your scalp so that your hair kind of grow back, because she'd been facing some stuff. And it's totally natural. It's nothing, kind of modifying, because it's just using your own thing to make it better. And she was getting kind of like a consultation session. She was inside with another doctor, and that lady and I was kind of getting into small talk, and asking why you're getting it. She's like, because I'll get more beautiful. People say that I'm not beautiful. I'm dark. I'm already getting whitening injections. I'm gonna get a jaw reconstruction, and I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna get this. And she actually showed me this entire list of things that she had planned over about like 2 years spanning from that day. And I was like, how old are you? She's like, I'm just 22. I'm like, you are insane. Now, I did not want to get into the talk of her not getting the surgery, because of course I was going to be kicked out if I did. So I was sitting in somebody's clinic who was kind of working on this, and I couldn't just butt into that. So I was like, good for you. Are you sure you still want to do it? And I saw the doctor first tell her that the results are not going to be like that. This is how you do it. And she put on numbing cream, and I was talking to her while she had that on, and the lips were completely numb. She couldn't even feel them afterwards. And she's like, I'm going in. And I'm like, good for you. You're going in. And like 5 minutes, she came out, and I saw that she was way more beautiful before. I'm like, you're looking beautiful if you think you're beautiful. So, and she looked very similar to what she did before that, because she already had like big lips, but she wanted to get bigger. I don't know why. But and she looked in the mirror, and she was so happy. And I was just happy because I was like, she's happy. I don't know, does she feel content? I know she's gonna get, sick of this, after a week or two. This is all for a week or two, and after that you'll be like, what have I done? And then you have to kind of stick with it. But it was sad, kind of, it was also saddening for me to see her that happy, just getting something done. So, I from that day onward, I was like, this is how, saying something to your daughter or saying something to a little girl could impact. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is huge.
So huge. Yeah.
This is not something as little as we might think it is. No. Even if nothing happens, even if the doctor is licensed, you give a good amount of money, and even if there are no side effects, which there are, of course, this is something that you're kind of, it's like you are standing up against God. You say, no, God, you did not make me beautiful, so I have to make it myself. Mm-hmm. Which is wrong.
And who dictates that? Who is dictating that what is the standard of beauty, which we have been talking about this whole time? And what came up for me when you were explaining that was that it wasn't even from a visual standpoint for you that different. And that showcases the mental health aspect of it, that people there are skinny, like there are skinny women that have bulimia or anorexia, and they literally look in the mirror and they see fat. Well, that is a complete, it's an irrational thought that has been created by all this multitude of you're not good enough and you need to buy this product, and like all these Instagram and all these Photoshops where they like, sometimes in magazines, it's not even the same person's body. They literally are like taking different body parts. I don't know so much about currently, like there's even just different technology, and then you look at anime and you you look at anime. Actually, that's a good example, where it's completely not natural. And so then these people are like getting these modifications done when they were perfectly fine. But because of this incessant frequency of this fake standard of what is beautiful, people are going under the knife, and or like injecting themselves and hurting themselves. And the thing is, there is no stop. There's no stop because it's an economic game. And who is paying the price? The children, and predominantly women, and some effeminate men, or people overall. And then the thing, like what also came up for me was at the end of my when I was writing this paper on cosmetic surgery, a lot of the cases of women actually got saddened as well, because they realized that when they changed their body, people did respond to them differently. So that confirmed that really their personality and their soul wasn't good enough, that it was about something fake, that what we value in life is something that is not coming from within and not coming from the heart. And so
Yeah.
that creates more disorder in society, and this kind of ever insatiable, consumer oriented way of living where you need to keep on buying things. And it's like, in the Tibetan Book of the Dead, they talk about the hungry ghosts. It's a stage where the ghosts are consuming things and it's just falling through their body. It's just like they keep on consuming and it just follows through their body. And that is like what I feel about cosmetic surgery and about addiction. And it's something that is why this conversation is so important. It's like, yeah, okay, this is your agency, but is this your agency? And then we have, stars that have like, they're going through, there was this reality star called, her name was Heidi Montage. Like, this is a while ago. This is like 10 years ago, but she wanted to get 10 surgeries in 1 year. And why? Because she was picked on in high school. It was like, okay, so let's reward people that are essentially competitive and violent. Let's reward those people. And there was this other case where in my studies where this child was getting their ears pinned back. A child at 8 years old. Why? So that they would fit in the classroom and they wouldn't get teased. So then what do? So now again, you're like, okay, we're going to spend all this money so that my child, or later on in life, this woman's like, I'm going to alter my body because I have all this abuse, because we're rewarding that. We're rewarding that behavior. As if a parent was like, okay, you know what, sat down and said, you're beautiful and you're really intelligent, and I think you're beautiful how you are, and you're a good person, and said these things instead of being like, okay, babe, yeah, let's go get that surgery. That's informing a disease in relation to our psychology.
Yeah, that is true. And I feel like it is because of normalization. Like when we were talking about drugs, I told you it's just because of the normalization of it. You see a man smoking on the street, like, yeah, he's smoking. You see a man drinking, like, yeah, he's drinking. And now when you see a man maybe snorting cocaine in movies, you're like, yeah, it's okay. Right?
Yes.
So, yeah, it's okay. You might actually consider it one day because of maybe what you're going through or maybe what you think you're going through. Right? So it's all about what you think as well. And with models, it's really sad because a lot of people think, yeah, they get to be on Milan Fashion Week and Paris Fashion Week and New York, and they get to travel the world for photo shoots, and they get to be on like magazine covers for Vogue and a lot of different things. Well, it's not just that, but it's also that, so like you told, like nowadays, and it has happened a lot, that you see the model, even the model is not beautiful enough to be on the cover. If her legs aren't good enough to be on the cover, they would change it with somebody's legs that they want to and kind of just put it there in such a way that it looks like hers. Same goes with arms, sometimes with facial features. That's insane. The person's a model. And the person's kind of supposed to be on the cover, is supposed to be the cover photo anyway. So, you're still even modifying that. Such beauty that has already modified herself.
Mm-hmm.
Now is going to go through the digital process of that. And like the amazing lady I was talking about, like really early, I was like, this is insane, because she said that I saw an editor for the magazine who was editing the covers photos and stuff. And she was like, no, the model was 70 years old. A correction, was 70 years old, but she looked like really young. So that's why she got to make the cover anyway. 70 years old, 70. And the editor was like, no. Her legs, they look way too old. I think we should like snap them with somebody else's. And she took some famous singer's legs and she put them there. She's like, it makes it perfect. Now the woman's old and we all know that she's old. Why do you not feel that she's beautiful? And it's like doubting your beauty again and again. The first people ask you to change yourself, like maybe you're fat, you have to like be like really thin and be like really fair and have long hair, good hair to survive all that heat and all those kind of things that you would go through maybe on runway shows and stuff, and all that makeup and everything. And then they say again, now you're not good enough. I think we should kind of swap it out, which is like kind of lame,
Super
it's too
lame.
much of modification for one human being, like ever. Because sometimes we don't realize, but models even have their own life, and models, what they are on the runway, have their own personalities. They walk with the attitude, they go out backstage, you meet them backstage, and it's done. There's a lot of personality between that serious face that they have while walking on the runway and going back. Right? There's a lot of things. You have to wear that serious, yet, that very couture kind of face and do all that you have to do. There's a lot of personality to that. And models are actually private contractors. And the thing to that is that models do face a lot of harassment. And their body image, they're the ones who would also portray something to younger girls. And yet even they are body shamed. That, no, you're not thin. You're not thin enough to be a model. And even if the model's too thin, she's like, no, you're too big enough to be in the industry, right? It's kind of being sarcastic.
Mm.
And then there's families, like Yolanda Hadid was a model. She married Muhammad Hadid. And then she had two daughters who are now supermodels, one of the most highest paid models in the entire world, Bella Hadid and Gigi Hadid. Now they are a big influence. Girls are like, I want to be like her. I want to be like her. But since a young age, they got to live like a life of a model because they ate salad, they did all those sit-ups and everything, and then they get to be on the cover. So there's a lot of personality. There's a lot of hard work behind that. Mm-hmm. But even being supermodels and being as beautiful as a supermodel is not enough for people to embrace you as a person, mm-hmm. or embrace you just as a model, And there's different kind of models, like hand models or feet models, and there's even kind of nail models that just show up to their cuticle and show the nail polish usually. So different now, right? It was a bit different earlier. And now with all the, you are beautiful, you are great, embrace yourselves. There's the same companies that are behind most of the brands, right? Like, one company and has a lot of brands underneath it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they are such manipulators at times that there's one company who is with one brand promoting that you are beautiful however you are, and in another country they're targeting on fair and lovely. Mm-hmm. Unless you're not fair, you're not lovely to other people, and that is insane, like right up insane.
Well, it's linking the external again with the behavior and the personality, right? Fair. We want you to be fair and lovely, because if I'm like this,
yeah,
like look at this wrinkle right here, eh? So my sister was like, "Oh my gosh, you're getting it too," because I have a lot of expression. I just do weird things. So my expression of my emotions, and if I'm seriously listening, I kind of like fur my brows a little bit. So I have this wrinkle. And she was obsessively rubbing it with like coconut oil or something. And I was like, you know what? It's like, even as I get older, I'm 33, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this wrinkle. But it's like, what came out for me and what you were saying was that this is ugly, and that aging and wisdom is invaluable. Before, back in the day, when there were more matriarchal societies, a crone means crown, and a older woman that passed down wisdom to the tribe. I'm talking about like more in First Nations cultures, that would pass down wisdom to younger girls and men, and they were valued. And now this word crone is a negative thing, and it is thought of as like wicked, wicked witches, crones. When you get older, you dry up, like we don't even see it in the media. We see people just without wrinkles. Well, this is like expression of life and life lived, and how there is this normalization of staying young, and that's not normal. That's not normal at all. It's like the most valuable thing is to be an adolescent. So there's this hypersexualization of children as well. They go into this big group, and then you have like 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds that are dressing like they're teenagers or they're like young adults. And so you have this huge population that is all of the same. And that is what is seen as the most valuable and powerful thing in society. But with it, it doesn't respect these rites of passage, these the wisdom of a community, the wisdom of a family in different life cycles. At least again, this is from being in Canada, a Western perspective, but it's like even really in the media to be just like a mother, or to be like you have stretch marks or something like that, or you're bigger, like that's not attractive. It's not attractive to be like, a stay-at-home mother or father. And why I'm bringing this up is that I think also within this hyper kind of consumer cosmetic technocratic culture, people are also not inspired to change and to move on to different ages and embrace it and embrace and I think that there are I mean, again, everybody has their own individual journey. I respect that. But I think there's also women that are nervous and do not want to become mothers or do not want to get older because in society it isn't valued. And that comes from that is like a negative aspect of the third wave feminist movement in the West. It was material girl. It was like Madonna's material girl. It was like be a powerful woman and work and like have the money so that you can alter your body. That is the most glorified thing that you can do. And for me, that shows that it was really devaluing the feminine role of like nurturing, of caring, of a range of emotions, of these invisible things that aren't valued in our economy, and they're not showcased in the media. I mean, I feel like it's changing now, but we still have, like, myself being born in 1986, I was very influenced by this kind of third wave feminist of the material girl. you know to be powerful, to be loved, is for you to put on the pants, really, for you to go into the economy and value everything that economy, that money, that like productivity will give you. That's what's most valuable. Again, what's external is most valuable.
Yeah. And like you said about aging, I feel like aging is a beautiful process. You get to learn a lot. And I think the older anybody would look, the more wiser they are, right? And like you told about that crown thing. Now, I knew all that because, and I was thinking about that initially as well, and I wanted to share that next. And you shared that. And that's amazing because I saw this movie, and it was actually about a knight who kind of time traveled. And so he was traveling into the forest in his times, like, very when King Henry was ruling England, and he found the old crone. And he was like, "Old crone, what wisdom do you have to share?" And she was like, "If you want to be a true knight in shining armor, then you would go to a place, and that is your quest, right? To find something." He kind of time travels, and he sees somebody who's old and who looks like the old crone from where he initially was. And he's right there in 2019. And he calls that person old crone. And the husband of that old lady is like, "Hey, you call my wife old crone? You wicked person yourself." And he's like, "Aren't crones supposed to be good people?" But of course, I mean, he comes from another place, and he's like really not getting the entire 2019 thing. It's a really good movie. It's a Netflix original and has one of my favorite actresses. So it was like, people just have other perspectives. And those perspectives keep on changing. One, maybe in one place or maybe in one time period, something is considered good, and in another, it is not considered good. Now, when usually you would see people in the show business, and when they are getting these anti-aging stuff and promoting anti-aging stuff and getting those Botox so there's no wrinkles, um, you would see people saying, "Oh yeah, it's actually good for them because they're protecting their job," which is a pretty mean thing to say, actually, if you think about it. Their job isn't just to be staying young, but I feel like you start out, if you start your whole life in the show business, then it's like you start as like a very toddler star, like, a child star, and then stay a child star, then you are teenager, then you are adult, and then you get into the adult business, and then you start
Oh,
getting
you're glitching out a little bit, Raheen. Oh.
Can you hear me?
No, you were frozen for about like 30 seconds.
I will repeat what I said. So, you start out like as a very young kid star,
Yeah, that's
then a
where.
child star,
Yeah.
teenage star, and you would then be, in your teenagers, maybe after you're 18, so you can be a heroine of a romantic film. Then that would go on for a lot of time. And probably when you start your 40s, you would start getting roles like older sisters and older cousins. And then after 50 or 60, you would go on to being the mother. That is something that is there. But people want to stay that romantic heroine of the film as long as they can.
Mhm.
Like I told you about that 12-year-old girl who, when got her makeup done in such a way and was walking on the runway, she looked like she was 30.
Mhm.
That's just how makeup would make you look old. And she wanted the span of her career longer. Like, and if I start, like I'm 12 now, I'm turning 13 though, in 10 days. But like I'm 12 now, and if I start my career now, my career would be longer than other people, because I know that when I would get makeup on, I would look quite older than I am. And that could be good for my career, because I have a longer career than most people. But then after, you kind of have to leave that role for a second and kind of grab onto the other age group, you wouldn't want to, right? Because who doesn't like being onto that front page of the covers and, all that? You're always in love with your age and being young. But when you're old, you're more content in a way. And I want to share one thing, that's the last thing from my side, that wherever university you go to, whatever procedures you get done, however beautiful you are when you're young, when you turn old, you are at the same place, all at the same place. That's a concept that I understood by a movie. It's a Netflix original, again, one of my favorite actresses, Sabrina Carpenter, and it's Work It. And she basically wanted to be in a university, Duke, and she just wanted to get there. She followed that life routine, like volunteering at places and watching TED Talks and being all that very good for universities, and she wanted to be there. And what happened is that she went for dancing. Like, she lied to that person, and she was like, "Yeah, I also dance," so that she would look more cooler to the university recruiter. And she had to to prove her lie, she had to actually start learning dancing. And her grades were going down, and then she left everything and started focusing on her grades. And while she was with a senior citizen, the senior citizen said, "You see that person on the corner, that old guy with hearing aids and everything? He studied at Harvard and stayed a professor there for a very long time. And that woman right next to him was head of the cardiology department of a very famous and a big hospital. I myself am a very lucky person. You might think that I have a lot of good degrees from good colleges, but you see, we all at the end of the day are at the same place. A old people home, a senior citizen center, and watching some old crappy TV. So work hard, follow your passions, because all the time that we remember is not studying hard for our college admissions, but the time that we remember is the time that we spend with our friends having fun. So have fun and embrace who you are, because one day or another you'll have to leave this body and move on.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Um, yeah, exactly. I feel in response to that, this life is a journey of self-discovery. I believe that um, that we go through cycles in history for us as a collective to learn about all the possibilities of ourself. But what linked to what you're saying is that when we come back to it, the essence, it's love, and the essence of our motivation is to be accepted and to love. And so where that starts is the journey back to your own sense of love and radiating that energy out from your heart. People will see it in your eyes, in your actual, your pupils. The light shines through. And I know we didn't get into this part, but there are other senses that our body subconsciously feels when you're interacting with somebody. So if you think that, the most to get ahead essentially is to devoid your sense of truth and your sense of love for yourself, that isn't true, because the essence of your sense of heart is seen and felt by other people. And that is why we need to inform people about how it comes from the inside. It comes from what you love. It comes from like that deep feeling inside, listening to your emotions, listening to like hanging out with your friends and hanging out with your family and learning from elders and learning from children and having this beautiful array of influence from the heart, so that when there's all these marketing advertisements bombarding on you and picking on your fear and picking on your insecurity, is that you can like try to come back with all that life experience and us going through those stages of being critical with ourselves, to come back to, okay, what feels good for me? What feels right? What is good for the community? And coming back to that place and radiating that and letting that like that warrior, that woman warrior energy to shine through of like, you know what, I'm going to choose what is best for me and what is best as a role model for other people to shine their heart and their lights through this other energy, this industrialized, fear-oriented energy that is literally so powerful, and it is really trying to control me. But you know what? At the end of the day, nothing can control you. Absolutely. There is always the spirit, there is always the heart that can come and shine through.
Yeah,
So,
beautiful. It's truly amazing talking to you. Thank you so much for watching, everybody that did. And it was not about how many. It was like finally not about how many people were watching or who was commenting or anything. I felt like it is almost like a shorter version of the conversation that we had. It was like 3 hours long. It was supposed to be like 30 minutes.
yeah.
And we were also eating and drinking, and we were having fun. and I was eating my pizza, I remember. And it was really fun. And I was like, I'm gonna eat my pizza. I feel good, right? And we were talking and moving, and it was really so fun. And it was fun having all of you who watched here today, because it was truly amazing. Amazing session that we had. Thank you so much, Samantha. Me and Samantha will be coming again, probably in sometime. We would schedule again another session about drug addiction and how this all is so interconnected. And we would share our thoughts and one of my frameworks on drug addiction. So it's going to be so fun. And I'm probably going to make a poster for this one. And I'm going to end the broadcast now. Thank you so much and have fun. Embrace
Thank
yourself.
you so much, Raheen. It was a pleasure. You're such a beautiful light.